Hey there, hi there, ho there, people. I am back and I hope my sound is better on this video than it was on the last. Um, Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Woo, today I'm wearing my little do-rag. I got my hair with some orange in there. Halloween, I guess. I'm just really eclectic. So I want to comment on a comment or bring up a comment that a friend of mine reached out to me with. She did not comment on the video here on YouTube, but she did call me um, with her comment, and she was answering the question from, I think it was my last video. Why do you think you're single? Why are you single? I asked you guys to think about it. I told you why I think I'm single at 46, and I asked you guys to think about it. Why are you single? So this particular person is not, I don't think she's 46 yet. She might be in her 30s actually. And D Day, I'm talking about you. I don't want to say your name, but you know who you are. Um and she was just mentioning she was just mentioning the fact that she was very sheltered. So she was very sheltered. So she felt like she was very sheltered. So in that respect, she said that her parents really like kept her under their thumb. They didn't let her do anything. You know those helicopter parents. We call them helicopter parents. Those helicopter parents who kind of are really afraid to let their kids do anything. And so that can be really helpful. And I'll tell you why it can be really helpful. And I can tell you why we think as parents that it might be helpful. And I can tell you how it really can be harmful in the long run. According to what she said, and according to the fact that she's single right now and she doesn't want to be, and at least I don't think she wants to be from the conversations that we've had previously. And I'll tell you a little bit really quickly about being a helicopter parent and being like on top of your kids like that, and why that there's a point that I feel that you should kind of let go and kind of let them do what it is that you taught them to do. So in my childhood, I did not have um I didn't have the supervision that I needed. I was forced to grow up really fast and kind of take care of my sibling as if I were a parent. And so in doing that, jumping forward to being an adult, I kind of lost out on a lot of the protection that I needed. There was a time when I was living with my great grandmother, and I had an uncle who was extremely abusive. Now, he didn't think he was abusive, and I think he might have had some mental things happening. I don't, maybe it wasn't malicious, maybe it was just an uncontrollable mental situation. But I remember plenty of times my mother would go out on her bench and she would be missing for days, and I guess he was aggravated and frustrated of having to be in my grandmother's house where he lived also, taking care of children. And so I mean, just watching us, just us being there, just us breathing, kind of set him off. And there were plenty of times where he would put us out, like literally, um, you know, besides hitting us or beating us and torturing us in different ways, he would say, "Get out and don't come back until your mother comes back," or "Don't come back without your mother," or "Go find your mother." It varied. And if you watched I'm sorry about the noise in the background, guys, but I got to do this when I'm motivated to do it, though. If you, and he would tell us to go find our mother. And if you listen to my previous videos, um, you know that, you know that this portion of my life that I'm recalling right now was when I was under 10, right? So I don't remember exactly how old I was when this particular incident that I'm going to talk about happened, but I was under 10 years old. And I told you about the landmark and the point and why I know it was actually under 10. And so I remember this particular day or a particular time, and he put us out. So we would go over, which we were in the same, like a project development, across the street to the next section where our actual apartment was, and my grandfather lived there. And I remember us plenty of days. my sibling and I playing in the playground in the back of the building, just hoping and waiting for an adult to come home because we didn't have a key. There was no one home. We would knock on the door. There's no one home. If you have to use the bathroom, if you have to eat, it's just having no protection. Like anything could happen. Anything could have happened to us out there. There was a person in the neighborhood, and I'm going to call him T. And T had gone to the mental hospital and was locked up for a while. But there was a rumor that my mother told me, and I knew the lady whose daughter it happened to, that T came out and he raped the girl. And it was a big thing because the girl lived in the same section in a building that was right across from where I lived. So this particular guy T got out of the asylum, and he was with his mother who had control. She was supposed to watch him or whatever, and she was older by this point, and he was faster. And I remember going into the building, and T, I would see him, and I remember the fear that would take over me because it happened more than once, and my eyes would widen. And I remember this time I went to the door, and I'm knocking on the door because I figured, well, I didn't feel like I had the time to run away or run out of the building. And the door we were knocking on was right by the staircase. And I remember my mother telling me previously, watch the staircase because T and people hung out in the staircase and you don't want them to grab you. So I had all of this fear going through my body. I'm banging on the door. T comes and he stands behind me, and his tongue is like with this like demented look. I can't explain it further than that. And I remember him basically pinning me up against the door as I'm knocking frantically, pretending and recognizing and or just feeling, because I don't know if he really understood that there was nobody home, that I kept banging, there was no one home, there was no one to save me, there was no one to protect me. And I kept saying, Grandpa, Grandpa, knocking on the door. I remember the tears coming to my eyes as my body was pressed up against this door, trying not to let him touch me. And as I was pressed against the door, he was coming closer and closer into me. And finally, his mother made it to the building, and she's calling him, "No, come here!" Like, you know, I don't remember if she had to physically touch him to get him off of me or what it was. But those were the incidences that shaped. That was one of the incidences that happened in my life that shaped the adult me. And so when I finally had my children, and they're both females, and I was abandoned by the fathers, I would say, long story, but um, I really felt the need to protect my children and not let them experience anything that I experienced at all. So I thought it was helping until my oldest daughter got into maybe she got into middle school. I don't remember what grade it was. And she started to tell me that, she started to rebel and to tell me how she wished that I had let them hang out with the other kids in the projects. I used to take my kids. I used to when they wanted to play in the park. I would get on a train and and ride all the way across the borough to find upscale neighborhoods for them to play in. um, when I enrolled them in schools, I tried to make sure that somehow they were in gifted programs and whatnot. But basically, I really tried to isolate them. I didn't want them to know that they were poor. So a lot of times I went, or that we were poor, or that I was poor at the time. And so I let them, I went into debt spending money for Christmas and birthdays and just trying to give them the life that I never had that I didn't have, and the childhood that I never had. But along the way I spoiled them, and eventually it stopped, and it stopped before it was too late. But I did see how what I was trying to do actually was having a negative effect when they started to get teased in school, and when they really just didn't fit in, and when I was always with them. They would always say, "Oh, your mom," or "You can't walk to school by yourself, look at your mom," those kind of things that my kids actually got teased for. um, because most of the other kids in the neighborhood were kind of in a similar situation that I was when I was growing up. So my kids just kind of seemed like the odd ones out. Imagine having that relationship with your parents, and they come in to save you from everything. There are some guys that I dated who were in that situation where their parents felt like they were the man of the house because the mother either was divorced, the father died, whatever the situation was, the mother was single, a single parent. And I won't say what my opinion is of it, but the son was made to fill the shoes of his father, yeah, as the man and protector, if you will, of the house. So dating me or dating any other female was a problem. So anytime we would get into something, he would run back to mom. Now the Bible says, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the object is for people to come together to get married, and a man should cleave to his wife. That means you should stick to your wife. Your wife is your new family. And not to say that you and your wife and your kids, if you have kids, that's your new family and their first priority. So you can't be running over to mama house every time mama says boo, and she has to understand that you are not the man of her house. Now, even though in these situations we were married, um, you're still not training for what it is that you need to do. Um, if your parents don't allow you to fly and give you some leeway, I think, um, to make decisions and to tell you things, not to hide things from you that you will actually need to know as an adult. Um, and so, even though I wasn't in that situation, I'm kind of in the same boat where, if you never were taught something, you don't know it. No matter how old you are, if you didn't learn it, you just don't know it. So a lot of people feel like, oh, you're this age, you're that age. Why don't you know how to handle a relationship? Why don't you know how to flirt? Why don't you know how to talk to guys? Why don't you know when there's a red flag that there's a red flag? And why shouldn't you walk away? And why? Um, but I'll say it again. I said it and I'll say it again. If you don't learn something, then you don't know it. If you never learned it, you don't know it. Um, yeah. And so why are you single? Um, that's interesting. So having and this is not what my friend said, and I'm not calling her parents this in any way, but having overbearing um helicopter and hovering parents can be detrimental if they don't allow you to exercise um their training and you know basically children are going to be adults, and so we as parents, our job or one of our jobs is to train them to fly, so to speak. So yeah, that was deep when she said that. I never thought about that. So thank you for that, friend. So we are again reviewing this book, Single is your superpower. And we're trying to, I don't know if you can see that, we're trying to dispel the myth that if you're single and you're a certain age that something is wrong with you. And you know that it's funny because when I look at guys and they don't have kids and they're my age, I kind of go that route and I'm like, really? That's terrible. I know. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. So, um, I'm gonna stop this video here. Um, I think the next time we talk, we're going to talk more about how um, Case Kenny defines single. How is this? I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but how he, there you go, defines single as a superpower. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Share this video with people that you think might learn something from this. Um, so share it, like it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope that this little discussion helped somebody, at least one somebody. Add to the discussion, guys. Keep your comments clean. Be nice. Be nice. Be different. Be nice. Peace.